Ryan Carcass here. We are about to start their second day. The starting time is July 1939. All of our tech is active, and we're using General Hand Grenade's house rule, where we just roll the D12, and whatever the face value is, that's the tech you get. Pick one you don't want, and you replace 13 with that, or whichever one you switch. So we're gonna have some interesting tech here. Italy's got advanced artillery along with French. The British have jets. The Americans and the Germans both have advanced subs. The Russians have anti-submarine warfare. They'll be using that a lot. Japan got their improved factories. And with the War Plan Z, I'm halfway through improved shipyards. We'll see if I can get some successful rolls. All right, so things are more or less the same as they were on the board. The Americans are still out. They're making $16, but they're starting to roll to make more money. The Russians have a ton of ground troops here. And since my Germans decided that the Polish were so much better, they ran away. And I don't have a lot left. So hopefully the Russians don't get too involved here. And we'll see if my second attempt at Paris will work, because my attempt to surround got repelled. And yeah, we're also I'm using the War Plan Z expansion for Germany, and we have this Elite Fighter Squadrons expansion. We're just gonna put them right on the map. We got too much stuff going on here to start figuring out what the rules are and when I roll them and all that stuff. I haven't even looked at that yet, so that should be an interesting add-in. We'll see what these planes can do and when they can do it. And thank you very much, General Hand Grenade. It's excellent food, excellent company, and it's nice to be able to play a game with somebody who's
It is my pleasure. Just wait till Heather gets the bill.
Thanks. This is Ryan Carcass again in Prince George, British Columbia, at General Hand Grenade's house. We are currently on January 1940 on the turn tracker there. That's our current income. We've had some tech rolls. I've just actually finished the Japanese turn, and the German and the Russian turn has also been completed in this this turn here. So for tech, there's been a few rolls here. Germany's got advanced mechs. Russia has gotten a stage on heavy armor. Russia's also decided to go for improved factories and wartime economy. They've got some of that. I've managed to successfully complete the improved shipyards, which will make the War Plan Z money a little easier to throw away. Britain's put a few techs on there. They got wartime economy, radar, and the Americans have started heavy bombers and improved shipyards. All right, so had a little bit of a war here. I had some torpedo boat destroyers and coastal subs there, and they came in and destroyed it. I thought about taking it out, but if I take this out, then that hammer there is just going to hit me while I sit on the head of the nail there. So we're a pass on that. I started building a factory here and here. The British successfully landed here, so I repelled them. Thankfully, I actually got some hits. I think that was 6 rounds before either one of us got a hit on the last guy.
Yep.
Yeah. So I have control of France again. The Vichy roll didn't go so well for me. The money was a 50-50 split, 3 and 3, but all these French ships are French still. The Vichy have this torpedo boat destroyer and a transport, but all the battleship and whatnot all got scuttled. So, and I got none of the ships out of that for Germany. Italy's still out of the war. I just built a transport there again. So now I finally have 2. Turkey, last turn I just managed to get a partisan in here. I'm trying to get to anger the Russians here. I had attempted for everything along here, but so far no luck. The FEC keeps stacking this, so if I don't deal with it pretty soon, it's going to be undealable. Oh, look at that. Anzac starting to move its ships out. All with its guys. And the Americans built an advanced submarine here. And so far we're using these Elite Fighter Squadrons, and it's the Americans have theirs placed. They're still out of the war yet, but we have not had any issues. It just flows right in with the game here. I'm doing it this way. I'm sure it's all house rules here because we're not rolling for when you get it and how you get it and whatnot. But the Russians have their 5. The Germans have their 3. And then there's one in the over there. The British have a couple over here. They just used those successfully against my Navy. And that's the end of this turn, and halfway through the next turn. So I'll leave you there. Oh, rank Carcass here. We are currently on July 1940. There's been a few tech. I just finished the German turn, so I've rolled a tech for advanced mech, long range, and improved factories. Got those. Failed miserably at the heavy armor. So the last turn, not too much really happened. We did a few trades. The FEC fleet ran away from the Japanese, and they've come over here, which is really freaking out the Italians, who are still out of the war. And Germany, since it's doing that War Plan Z thing, figured, you know what, we're gonna just attack Vichy France. That way we can place some ships in there and help the Italians out. I got too many ships I have to build, and I don't want to put all my eggs in this one little basket, because that big chunk there is enough to match me, or more, especially with those planes. Russia's been running around collecting a bunch of stuff here. So they've pretty much taken everything out of the pact. And
these 2 battleships are way up here, right?
They're doing some attacks down here. That's about it. And I've taken that one place back, and otherwise Japan's out of it. Anzac's still building their sub stash, and the British are building up, and that's the end of that. It's rank Carcass again. We are in Prince George, British Columbia. We just finished 1941 July. And we've just turned the turn tracker here to 1942, first turn in January. So for the tech, a few things have changed. Japan's moved forward on a few things. Russia's finished or moved forward a few things here. We got quite a few techs going on in this game. It's a lot of fun. So far, not too much on the board yet, but I'll pan around here. So the Americans are busy building all this. They're still building up. On the Pacific side, nothing's happened in South America. There is a disgustingly large fleet, which is parked right by this hand here in the English Channel, along with 6 vehicle aircraft that are able to scramble.
5, I think.
Oh, is it 5? Yeah, 5. But a few jet aircraft mixed in there too, so that's not too fun. But right here, the Germans have 3 fighters they can scramble, and this disgusting fleet. So I don't know what the heck's going to happen if they meet. There's probably going to be a lot of pieces in the bins.
I think we should all steal a car and have a soup kitchen inside.
And then, yeah. So Russia declared war on the Germans and took Romania.
Boys have a soup kitchen.
So as a result here, these switched and joined the Germans. And then Italy declared war on the British, and they had a whole pile of boats in there, but I had a couple of lucky rolls in the first round, and target selected a few cruisers.
Yep.
And that turned the tide, I think.
Diced me.
And you got diced a bit too, yeah. And now you're still got a lot of land, but yeah, Turkey, being Axis aligned a while back, decided to kick the Russians here since they're attacking me somewhere else. So they killed the fleet, and they took Transcaucasia. I don't know if they're going to hold anything.
Looking good. You guys with the fighters in there now?
Yeah, all right. Japan nailed Russia here as well. And we finally managed to take this and have a whole one guy left alive. So I could keep it.
That guy's
dead. But Calcutta's got a monster stack. I believe there's a red. No, two reds underneath the infantry there. So
stack of tanks.
I don't know if I could take that with what I got. Japan's still sitting down there with this fleet. The Americans got a fairly hefty fleet. I don't even know if I could match that. And Australia is starting to look like the Grey Fortress. You got fortifications and all sorts of stuff getting built in there.
Americans have been lend-leasing fighters down there.
Oh, and getting lend-lease fighters. Anyway, it's been a busy round. Hello, there's Rank Carcass here again. I'm playing in Prince George, British Columbia against General Hand Grenade with my brother Moose. And we just finished January 1942. We're starting July 1942. Tech-wise, I don't know if Russia moved anything up. I know the Americans moved up their long-range aircraft in their shipyards. And otherwise, tech hasn't really moved too much this last turn. Since we're on this side of the map, let's start here. South America, nothing happened. There's some very threatening-looking task force markers there for the Americans. They belong here in Washington and New York, along with these moderately substantial Navy, especially comparing that to what I got in total. That's kind of a little bit ominous with the 5 transports in there, especially when this Navy is still alive for the British, sitting there in the English Channel. The British are starting to build some ground troops in here again. So I had a plan to do a nice sea line here with this big Navy I have. But yeah, Russia attacked me, so that I had to turn away and look somewhere else. So I used that fleet here, which is sitting right here now, to eliminate the Russian Navy, so I didn't get backdoored when I moved out to do anything else with this Navy. So I retaliated on Russia by taking this. They took it back. I took this, and they had taken Romania last turn, so I took it back. And they didn't try to take that from me. And because of the Turkish thing where Axis took it, the British got Greece, so I had to attack Greece there with the Germans at the same time. I also managed to successfully kick everybody out of France for a while. Let's see if that lasts anything. It keeps everybody just keeps coming back. Death by 1,000 cuts is what that seems to be the theory against Germany here. Let's see what else happened. That big fight happened in the Med last turn. I lost my transports due to the Russians coming in, and there was a Greek destroyer, so they moved together here, and the Italians and the Turkish took turns taking them out. France was kind enough to build me a factory here in Northern Africa, so I decided to take these Italians that were sitting here in Tunis and move them over with those aircraft and liberate it from the Italians, or from the French for the Italians. I also moved this cavalry down here and moved the rest of the forces I had in Northern Africa to Egypt, right next to the Suez. Turkey's been a godsend for the Axis here. With the ownership of Turkey, I've managed to take the Transcaucasia last time, forcing the Russians to attack it, which brought all their forces out of here. So Turkey could then take that back, and I've stacked this up fairly substantially now. It's really handy having Turkey, especially with its income. Turkey's making $6 a turn, spending money only, and it's got its own factory. You can build anything off the Italian chart except for tech, so good times. And yeah, I'm really finding Turkey is changing the entire way this whole area plays. Hopefully I get to see, I'm going to have to definitely try this again and see what happens with the either allied or communist control of Turkey. It could totally change how Europe and the Med plays, along with the Middle East. Russia hasn't really moved forward too much here, except for the little annoyances I gobbled up there and they took back. Russia is moving back here. Japan ended up trying to give Russia a distraction with Turkey over there, and then Japan over here, because Germany was not ready. We did not have enough ground forces to fight these guys, so I'm building them up. So that delayed my attack on the Commonwealth and the Americans. So now my fleet's sitting over there, and so is all this stuff that I brought back down after attacking the Russians with Japan. So this fleet is here. You'll notice that it's about the same size as their fleet. He's got, as long as I can get him over here to where my aircraft is, and or within reach of my aircraft, which I successfully got long range this turn, so that'll be nice. And then, what do we got here? We've got, there's an enormous stack here. I don't know if I can take that, especially with the mountains have been kicking my butt in China here, as Japan. Commonwealth initiated war with me, is Japan down here, so it took away my ability to surprise attack the Commonwealth, which means I can only surprise attack the Americans, and they're out of range, so I think my surprise attack is toast. And this is turned into a tough nut. He's got fortifications and coastal guns and all sorts of stuff in there. So the Americans are $1 away, $1 away from their full income of 63. So I think they're ready to go, and it's going to be all in. Let's see what happens next turn. Okay. Hello, it's Ray Carcass again. We just finished our day here. We just finished July 1942. We moved the calendar up to January 1943, so I get to build Panzer Grenadiers. America's in the war now, so they got these giant cards. This one card here with all the planes and whatnot is on the land, and the other card there is in the sea. You can see the two markers there. They are ready to go anytime they want. Let's see, the British still have the same fleet, except for they moved a few boats down here, along with a few ships they got when the Dutch got activated from up there. Otherwise, the British didn't do much. They carpet bombed in here again. Thankfully, they were unsuccessful. The British down here, though, they did take this spot here. Italy took a smack down there. I had a big stack of infantry and a mech, and I lost it all. So I guess I'm not going to be going after Cairo anytime soon, because that's all I got left. Not much. Although I did build a tank there with that factory the French made for me. Italy also came in here. It's the first time I used Partisans. I had 2 Partisans in here, so I converted them into a militia. And then I amphibious assaulted with a pair of Marines. And as a result of that, Iraq became Italian, because I owned something next door to it. Let's see, what else? The same turn here. Turkey's been a pain in the Russian butt here. The Russians had owned all of Iran, and now they don't. So, thank you very much, Russia. I'm sure I'm not going to keep it, but it's mainly just a distraction, because the Russians have been doing nothing but distractionary invasion raids here. They got one guy in western Poland, and they took out eastern Prussia, so they got a light tank in there. And they took out Finland as well, so I'm going to have to deal with all that. I still have my fleet right there, but that's just that fleet there. I had built these subs to do some convoy raiding, since that was the whole purpose of taking Marseille turns ago. But every time I tried to build something there, I didn't have it at the start of my turn, so I couldn't place anything there. Or Russia has attacked me, so yeah, that's why these boats came down. They're afraid I'm going to start convoying them out in the Atlantic there, so they're trying to block me in. I don't know. I might take them, or I might just convoy inside. Nobody's on escort duty right now, so we'll see. The Italians took off $6 off this line with this sub here last turn. I got this weird distractionary thing. I got one cavalry that's slowly been hopping down. It's just more of an annoyance, but hopefully I'm trying to make them spend some money down here. What else did Russia do? Russia built a whole pile of new units up here again, but Germany moved all of its land units up ahead here, so I could stage up in either Romania or Warsaw, so I could take some Russian stuff back, or at least prevent him from moving too far forward without getting smacked back. Okay, thanks to that massive distraction I had up here in Russia, I've now pulled most of my troops out of there, and I'm starting to move them down into China, or through China, to get them down here so I can start attacking the FAC. Problem is, though, I don't know if you've noticed, but there are partisans scattered everywhere here. These CCP and the KMT partisans, and they're rolling every turn to take money away from me. In fact, last turn I was gonna build something, but I couldn't build a destroyer and a marine because I lost all the money for it, thanks to the partisans. Plus, they're making me use up my infantry, a guy in every spot, so they don't turn 2 partisans into a militia and take the place away from me. So the partisans in China against Japan, a huge game changer. It's the whole reason I'm slogging it out here, and I got 12 wasted land troops. They're just sitting there doing nothing, so I can keep it. It's the biggest thing that's held Japan back this again. All right, this little navy in here, I just placed it this turn. Thanks to being at war here, I placed a light carrier, built that one that was on there, a cruiser and 4 destroyers. All right, that's that. I also moved in here and kind of spam attacked the Dutch. So I took that from the Americans. I managed to successfully take this one here. What is it here? Borneo for the bonus $2. Took Sumatra uncontested. Fought a navy over here. Had to take out the Dutch navy both here and here first. And as a result, I failed, thanks to the mountains here, to get my stuff because I needed to use these planes. And he kept hitting me, so I lost my 2 Marines. And I wasn't going to lose a plane as well. Now, down here, I think they took 6 subs, a cruiser, and 2 fighters, Anzac, and they attacked my stuff. I wasn't thinking ahead here, and I left way too juicy of a target. I had 2 battleships, a carrier with 2 fighters, and a destroyer and a transport. So when they came in there, I'm very happy they didn't roll too bad, or too well, because I managed to get this out, although they did get a targeted strike with one of their subs and finish off my other battleship that was damaged. Very nice of them. Thank you very much. So they've started to build a little bit of navy back. They got these 2 subs, and there's the 3rd fighter lend-leased by the Americans to Anzac. All right, what else happened? So America has become aggressive, and they've moved in here and taken the Marshall Islands. Pretty much standard there. I mean, from here they can reach anything. So let's see what happens. And the fleet that's parked on there is this monstrous fleet here. He's got a couple of battleships in Iowa, a carrier, and a whole mess of cruisers and destroyers in there. He's only got 2 transports though. And then up here, he's got a little stack in Hawaii waiting for transports to pick him up. And he's got 2 more transports here. So if he builds 1 more transport, I get my cheap militia in the home country for Japan. So we'll see what happens with that. Yeah. And these light tanks that stack here, I'm trying to get them down here. And Russia and China or Japan are at a standstill here because everybody who attacks in the mountains is basically attacking in a one. So nobody's really doing much anymore. This is more of a distraction just to prevent him from moving those troops away and attacking the Germans with them. And that was the end of that turn. So final incomes, and this is including bonuses for everybody. I'm going to show those up here. Alright, so final incomes, we've got the Americans at 74. The three-way tie for 50 between Germany, Japan, and Russia. 27 for the British, UK. Italy's at 19. FEC's at 16. We didn't have a Turkey one, so we're using the communists as Turkey right now. So Turkey and Australia are tied at 9. And the French have 4. And tech-wise, well, yeah, there was a few more techs that came out this turn. Let's take a look at that. Alright, so with the techs, the Americans finished off their improved shipyards. The British have also finished off their I'm grabbing them all at once here. British also got the factories. So Germany, America, and Japan has got this. Britain, Japan, and the British have this one. And everything's pretty much, everybody's kind of moving along. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Have a good night.